Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, one of the most valuable hours of your day. I'm Michael, the MCCC for today's adventure, and this week we are continuing on Tim Flynn, our own Tim Flynn's self-discovery. This week dedicated to practice. Today's show, What's Next? Taking Action. It's Monday, so toward the end of the hour, we're going to also cover our journaling successes over the past week. But let's meet our additional co-hosts. So first is Agnieszka, our psychosomatic illuminator. And Willow, our trauma consultant.
Hi, everyone.
Deirdre, our development strategist.
Hi, glad to hear.
Tim, our expert executive analyst.
Hi guys, nice to see everybody tonight.
And Dennis, our freedom facilitator.
Hi everybody, thank you for being with us tonight and ready for action.
We've got a full house today with all of our crew here. And if you're viewing live, and if you have a question, please feel free to ask or comment, and we'll try and get to it. The discussion for today, we're going to be talking about exercise in regard to practice. And I believe we've got a video in play. So we're going to start out with a bit of a TED Talk video, a little portion of one. And if we can get that queued up, let's get right to the video. Everybody's on top of that. We'll start here.
Sound. Headphone sound. Oh, just please be patient with our technology because we're working it. No, I still can't hear it. Is it going through your speakers, Deirdre?
There we go.
Okay, can we restart at 6 minutes? Yeah.
Then along the way, you make a marginal improvement to the process. You nudge the odds of success in your favor. I'm going to try and do this in my career. So I did. I started out as an exotic derivatives trader at Credit Suisse. It then led me to be global head of currency option trading for Bank of America, global head of emerging markets for AIG International. It helped me deliver top-tier returns as a global macro hedge fund manager for 12 years and to become founder and CIO of 2 award-winning hedge funds. So it gets to 2001, and I'm thinking, this whole idea, it worked really well at school. It's been serving me well as a professional. Why aren't I applying this in my personal life? Like all those big ambitious goals I have for myself. So one day I'm walking to work, and at the time my commute was a walk from one end of Hyde Park to the other in London. It took me about 45 minutes each way. Hour and a half a day, 7.5 hours a week, 30 hours a month, 360 hours a year when I was awake, aware, basically wasting time listening to music on my iPod. So on my way home from work that day, I stopped at the store. I picked up the first 33 CDs in the Pimsleur German language program, ripped them and put them on my iPod. But I didn't stop there. Because the truth of the matter is, I'm an undisciplined person. And I knew that at some point, I'd switch away from the language and go back to the music. So I removed that temptation by removing all of the music. It left me with just one option. Listen to language tapes. So 10 months later, I'd listened to all 99 CDs in the German language program. Listened to each one 3 times each. I then went to Berlin for a 16-day intensive German course. When I was done, I invited my wife and kids to meet me. We walked around the city. I spoke German to the Germans. They spoke German back to me.
Nice. So that's where we start the discussion.
Yeah, so this is all about practice. The video that we just played actually starts off with even, well, I don't know if more interesting, but another interesting concept where he shows a little square, a gray square, and he says, who here can paint this gray square? And everybody's hands shut up. And then he zooms out and it's a bunch of gray squares and it's actually somebody's photo. And that's a really great allegory for practice and taking things one step at a time, one bite at a time, and just moving forward towards your goals. What do you guys think?
That's an art, not theory or practice, maybe technique, where you separate the picture into boxes and it's scaled up and on a ratio. So you know, in this box, all I have to color is a black line from here to here, and then I fill in here and I shade here. And then you move on to the next thing. And by the time you're done, you have a whole picture that looks relatively, I mean, you do it freehand, but it looks relatively close to what you started out with. I mean, that was probably one of the first times where I realized that practicing something and learning new techniques in art can actually, it's not just a talent thing. You actually have to put some effort and work into it, which was kind of disheartening at the time. I was young and felt entitled. I was like, I should just be good at this.
So if you connect the practice back to the vision, so when we created our vision of like what things should be like or how we wanted our future to be, and it seemed like it was maybe a little bit overwhelming and unreachable. And this video kind of talks about a method of just taking small bites, making marginal improvements, and doing it on a consistent basis, and look what you can accomplish. And I'd encourage our listeners to go watch the rest of the video and see some of the things that this guy accomplishes over the course of time. It's not limited to, there's no magic to it. It's just small bites and consistency. And maybe we can come up with some things related to our visions that we can begin to practice now.
It's what I saw is that it's about recognizing opportunity and then improving design, even if it's on a very small basis or in small incremental steps. So he recognized in that example that we just listened to that, there was an opportunity in the time that he spent commuting to and from work, and then he kind of redesigned his trip to work or back from work by adding another activity to it, or by adding like a learning program to it. And I think it's a very it's a great example actually, and it encourages me to look at my own daily routines to see what small steps can I take on a daily basis, because it's really the small steps that make all the difference. And if you create like little habits and they add up over time, I can say that like from a perspective as like a nutritionist or like as a trainer, the people that make huge tremendous changes like overnight oftentimes fall off or fall back into their old habits quite easily. But if you can make small steps on an ongoing basis, then they eventually over time will add up, and they're more likely actually to to stay with you and to become new habits and to become kind of your new lifestyle.
I think it's like a continual straining, continual pushing at the boundaries to becoming more of who I really am on the inside. Like, sure, I could do this or I could do that. Which one is more who I really am? Am I really the person who watches like whatever videos to waste time, or am I the kind of person who does something creative? Who am I? And I think that question can answer a lot of different confusions when it comes to our abilities, or how we spend our time, or how we hone our abilities. Because it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I just don't have talent. I just don't have talent. But Michelangelo, the difference between Michelangelo and somebody's first sketch is like 1,000 hours of work, right? And apparently it's not even 1,000 hours. Well, they say 10,000 hours, but there's that Joe Kaufman guy who we heard in Autonomy, the video that's also on YouTube. We will link it down below, both the videos, the TED Talk and the Joe Kaufman. But yeah, he says, below. But he says that 20 hours, all you need is 20 hours. And suddenly that's really doable. Like you can get 20 hours if you really try in 2 weeks. I
think the difference was it's 20 hours to be proficient in a skill, and like 10,000 hours, I think, is how many hours you go through the schooling, is supposedly how many you're supposed to have to be an expert on something.
But I think, hey, okay, hang on a second. Sam, can you put us on the other screen? Because you keep looking over to the side, but you're talking to us. And it's almost like your camera and where are my faces is two different places.
Yeah, you're just going to have to deal with not being able to see my eyes from the reflection of the lights.
Oh, but I like your eyes. But I also like when you look at us, not off. By the way, greetings to Igor Krezo, who is our fan and is listening. That's right, Igor. We love Igor. What was it? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the 10,000. So that Joe Kaufman guy actually addresses that 10,000 hours thing, and he talks about the sources in one of the videos a little bit, like where that came from and who created it and stuff. And so there may or may not be a scientific basis behind it. And Igor misses us.
I think that's Malcolm Gladwell's book.
Is it?
I'm not sure what the turning point or
Tipping point.
tipping point. Yeah.
See, this is why I've surrounded myself with these amazing people.
So if you look at some of the things that Stephen Dunier, the guy who did the video, was talking about, he was talking about how he was a C student and he knew he had to change, but he had kind of a
Can you
ADD
guys hear me
type
now?
problem. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I've been talking this whole time. Haven't you known? Nobody said anything to me. Haven't you even seen me like talk and
window
trying to
doesn't
engage?
switch.
I thought you were just ignoring me.
It's
No,
hard.
continue. Oh my gosh.
It's a little hard to see in the small
Yeah, you're too
screen
far
when
away.
your mouth is moving.
Your mouth is like 136th of the screen.
Well, you guys need bigger screens. I have a big monitor that's like a TV screen. So like use are like, you know, the size of a piece of paper.
We're all working on upgrades. Of course, I have a big screen too, but I'm trying to sit far away.
Tim. Sorry.
Go, Tim.
No, not at all. So what he said as a goal for himself was to improve by just making 5-minute increments and then going out and do something that he liked. So just reading for 5 minutes, studying for 5 minutes. And I think that's the biggest problem is getting started and the thought of getting started. Like, how am I going to run this race? Well, you know, you're not going to run any race if you don't take the first step. So if you take the first 5 or 6 steps and then you take a break, well, so be it, right? Just take the first 5 or 6 steps. And then what inevitably happens is you're able to concentrate and stay at it and you get interested as long as it's something that you're truly interested in improving in. And you end up spending more time. And as long as you can carve out the space, the atmosphere, set up your success in a way that you can replicate it in small bites, you can't fail. It just follows itself.
That's what I really liked about the video, that it puts it more into smaller increments. Like, okay, like when I shot a gun for the first time and I got a bullseye and I'm like, this is cool, I can do this. And then I didn't. I was like kind of on the outskirts. I'm just like, oh, come on, I'm supposed to be really good at this. I got it, you know, I got a bullseye. But and it kind of decreased my motivation to go again because I'm just like, no, I'm really bad at this. But if I did it slower over a period of time, it was more like a fun thing to do. But if I prepared it and really wanted to take it seriously and learn it properly, I would just do it slower over a period of time. Make sure I'm holding the right position, first of all. That's what I like about this video. It teaches that. Because, I don't know, I think this is what Dennis was talking about, that people get an instant win and then they can't replicate it because they can't remember how they got that win. Whereas if they do it slower and make sure they remember each body position, each motivation they did, each kind of step they did to get towards it, it's easier to replicate. And then, you know, the little wins are rewarding. And another thing I like about this video is that it tells me that it's okay that I'm a procrastinator. It's okay. As long as I'm procrastinating on the right thing.
Okay, so I just have to tell you guys, Igor was mentioning that he heard Bill Gates talk about that in order to reach expert level in an area of expertise, you need 10,000 hours, which translates to 5 years of 40 hours per week. But I don't really know if that's true, and he's probably not
That's
the
to be an
original one.
expert. That was the difference between expert and being proficient. 20 hours is to be
Yeah.
proficient at a skill. To be an expert,
I-
yeah,
I-
you'd have to spend more time.
I like to think of it as Olympic athletes. That seems to help me measure it. So if I wanted to be an Olympic athlete at that, that top competitive level, I have to make sure every move is perfect. And so is everybody else. So I not only have to make sure it's perfect, I have to make sure it's streamlined, perfect, and better than my competitors, because they're also at that level. That's that's how much an expert is at that level, that perfectness.
But if
I
you do
don't
the
want to
math,
be that if I'm learning.
I mean, if you do the math from the video, he learned German in 360 hours plus, like a 3-week or 2-week seminar, and just taking individual bites out of it every day. So it's, we don't have to be Olympic athletes. I don't think that's going to happen for us. Although, maybe Mike could be an Olympic athlete. I don't know.
I
But
think that time has come and went.
we probably have other goals. Right.
I was going to comment on what Deirdre said about shooting guns. Actually, it brought up an issue that I had. It ended up not being about guns, but it started out with guns. Actually, it started out with my first dog had died very tragically, and I was very upset about it. I had a lot of anger that I knew I needed to get out in a healthy way, and I told my husband, I was like, I want to go shoot guns. That's what I want to go do. So I took my gun out there that Kurt had bought me and got it ready, had my friends out there, had my support system, and I was like, I'm going to blow this target away. And my gun stovepiped. And the bullet got stuck, or it was either the bullet or the casing. I think it was the casing. When it tried to reload, it kept getting stuck. And it was so frustrating because I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And my husband at the time didn't know how to handle the situation. He tried, but he didn't know how to handle it the best way. And finally, he got so frustrated that he was like, it's you. It's not the gun. The gun works fine. You're doing something wrong. You're just not shooting it right. I don't know why. I ended up crying. I was just so upset that I just burst out into tears. All of my friends were like, are you okay? And I just wanted to go away at that point. Come to find out, my wrist had I had gotten carpal tunnel almost, or not. I wasn't actually diagnosed with carpal tunnel, but the doctor said that if I didn't strengthen up my wrist, that's where it was going. So come to find out, it was a good thing. And then I had to spend months, almost over a year actually, strengthening up my wrist before yoga because it was affecting all of my yoga stances and everything. And having to go back to that was strange for me because it's like I've used my wrist all this time. It's been fine all this time. Why do I have to go back and retrain my body to do something that I thought that it was doing before? It was just a strange battle for me where it's like, well, you're already supposed to know this. So taking the time and scheduling time to practice seemed unnecessary and like a waste of my time until I got that in my mind where I was like, okay, you have to practice this. You're at this level and you have to go step by step to get back to the level you were at.
Role-playing games help. I always imagine myself being, okay, so I'm really good, so I'm at level 23, but I want to be level 24. Because that kind of breaks it down into increments, and then it's not so like, whoa, why should I do this? You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I tried that technique from the video today. We watched the video during our meeting yesterday, and the whole the 5 minutes, if you don't feel like doing something, just do it for 5 minutes. And so something I really dread, I would do it for a little bit, and then I would ADD out of it and start doing something else. And I would force myself to go back and, it's just for a couple minutes. You'll be fine. Just do the next step. Yeah. And I did it in increments, and I actually did and completed it before I got on the call. So, but.
So how did it feel?
Yeah, it's interesting. There are a lot of different observations I'm making about myself and why am I reacting this way and why am I procrastinating this way and what's it doing for me and how am I going to do it better next. You know what I mean? So we were talking about doing a challenge this week. Do you guys remember from yesterday?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
it's not an exercise, it's more of a challenge, and it's a challenge to us and everybody who's listening to us. Challenge yourself, or you're gonna stagnate. So we're doing a challenge, and mine is kind of hard, and I'm just like, do I want to even say that? Maybe somebody else should talk for a while.
Well, I think one of the things that we need to also kind of keep in mind when it comes to practice is we're already practicing things. We're already doing things each day. And those things, are we actually consciously choosing to do those things? Are those things kind of programmed into us? And so the practices and habits that we have are already there. I mean, we're already doing these things. And are they good for us? Are they harmful for us? And if, like in the case of the speaker, essentially, one of the things he was doing was commuting. There was a choice to be made, whether he just utilized that time to, slough off, or was he going to do something productive with that time? Everything that we do every day is a practice, and it's a matter of creating the choices that are we going to do something that is productive and useful for us and beneficial for us, or possibly having a lot of things that are not beneficial and not conducive to the success we have or could potentially have.
That's where I was at with my
detrimental.
Yeah, that's right. I was like that with my procrastination. I was kind of, so how I kind of offset it is that I have all the work in front of me, and if I get an instant kind of motivation to do it, I just kind of just smash it out and I do it, even though I had it scheduled for something else and I had that particular task maybe scheduled for tomorrow or in 2 days. I switch them around. For some reason, it just came to me that way. I find that is a better use of my time than beating myself up because I can't find the motivation to do the one task I scheduled in to do right now. But I had to learn that not to bury myself in music or, well, I'm not motivated to do this right now, so I'm just going to watch some Netflix. That took a bit of learning to do. That isn't a good. That's not productive time.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, a lot of times I find that the most difficult tasks are in the mind, and then once I begin, then it usually goes by a lot faster and a lot easier. And I think we should maybe drop a pleasure predicting spreadsheet. I'll drop that in the chat or the links.
Just drop it in our Discord chat, not in the Zoom
not in
chat.
The Zoom, okay.
Because it flashes this like
flashes.
box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what it is
away.
You predict like how pleasurable or fun this activity is going to be from 0 to 100, and then after you complete it, you're like, okay, how fun or pleasurable was it really? And so you take a measure of it. Yeah.
That's
also, another thing I thought of with any sort of situation where you have anxiety over doing anything. This can be, I don't want to do it, I'm procrastinating, to this gives me panic attacks and I don't want to leave the house. Knowing when or that there is an end in sight is one of the top most comforting thoughts of knowing, like, okay, I only have to do this for an hour, or I only have to do this for a few minutes, knowing that it will end at some point, and having a gauge of when that is will help your anxiety level and keep you from procrastinating.
What comes to my mind also is that Tim, you just mentioned mind, so in some situations it the mind might be the challenge. In other situations it might actually be the physical action that we have to take that is the big challenge, and in other moments we have some emotional issues that are kind of like in the way. So what I find helpful sometimes is to if I focus on, okay, I have to get this done, or I'm supposed to get this done right now, but It's like really physical right now. Like it's like physically I can't get myself to just get up and do it, but we can take action on different levels. So maybe I can, if I'm not physically able or really willing to get up at that moment, maybe I can get myself in a different emotional state that then will facilitate action on other levels as well. Or maybe sometimes the physical thing, like getting up and walking over actually is not so hard to do, like just start washing the dishes or whatever it is. But then there's like something on my mind that's holding me back, or there's some emotions like in the way. So maybe like if we look at it from a holistic view again, at different levels, we can empower ourselves on a level that is more easygoing at the moment, and then that will certainly impact the other levels as well.
Yeah, I would say that there's also, like the idea of the higher consciousness versus the lower consciousness, things that are like built out of shame or dread or guilt or stuff like that. It's very hard to motivate yourself to do versus things that are joyful, that you love, that are enlightening to you, that make you more aware, that give you, make you feel courageous. Those are things that are a lot easier to motivate. And so keeping the things that are most valuable to you in that repertoire of the things that you want to do and are close to your values are going to take you to those places. They're going to take you to the consciousness of love and joy. And that's what's going to give you a great deal more energy to carry these things out. And when there are things that are driven by fear or other things that are low consciousness, we need to spend some time examining them, because, like, for example, conflict is one in which we could look at it as an opportunity to learn something. And if we have that kind of mindset where I'm going to learn something from this conflict, I'm going to get something out of this, that could really change from somebody that thought that a conflict is just something to be feared, and that there's that all that could potentially come out of there is I could hurt from the conflict. And so it is a battle, or is a opportunity to change our mindset about the outcomes of things, and then how that relates to what we are doing, and how we motivate ourselves to get those things done.
But we have to do it on purpose. We have to take charge, not just let other people program our brains for us. Oh yeah, load your programming in. I'm waiting.
This reminds me of our conversation we had a few weeks ago about being in comfort. So like the safe option. What Mike was saying reminds me of that kind of. Oh, okay. So I'm learning something new for say, and it's kind of scary because it's going to take a lot of failing just to kind of get the right technique, and having the kind of the strength in there to go, no, it's okay. I'm still learning. It's okay. There's no shame in this. Well, it is kind of shameful and embarrassing. I'm going to laugh my ass off the whole time, and then you're eventually going to get it. It just reminds me of what you're saying, Mike, about that whole people kind of stay in that safe place.
But you can learn stuff from like little. Sorry, something weird happened on the screen. Lost my train of thought. Continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going with Mike's what he was talking about with learning about conflict as well. Hey, and Mike, have you ever noticed that? So when people are in conflict, right? There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of kind of instantness. Now, I heard somewhere, I can't remember where it was, that conflict is a useful tool to get something sorted fast. That's why it's so intense and kind of abrupt like that. It's not meant to be like that over longer periods of time. What do you think?
Well, it certainly becomes an abrupt consideration, but I think most of the time, over time, I just had a discussion with somebody that I have a lot of respect for, but we were misunderstanding. I was saying, you're using the wrong words, and they were saying, no, but the point I'm trying to make is this. we walk away from each other, and he was disgruntled, and I was like, he doesn't understand what I'm trying to say. And then 5 minutes later, he came back and he said, I think I understand what you're saying, and that was, like that. In a lot of cases, it's, like when we allow the emotion to get the best of us, we can't, there's that blindness that we can't see. But the more that we change the mindset from being controlled by the emotion to being, more logical in analysis and so forth, the quicker we do change
Apparently,
from someone that's fearful to something that's, hey, this is an opportunity, I might learn something.
so apparently it's
Yeah.
20 seconds when the first fearful thought strikes you. Apparently you have like 17 seconds. Somebody said 17 seconds from that moment to the moment where it gets stuck in your amygdala and you're like, in a loop. So bringing your thoughts back to the forefront, the frontal lobe, like we were talking about last week, and really asking yourself questions like what I've been doing lately. I have to tell you guys, I've been really irrational, because what I've been doing lately is, because Eric didn't come home and now he's going to Toronto, and 6 months ago he broke his leg in Toronto, right? So now I have this irrational thought that, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. He's going to Toronto tomorrow, so something's going to happen. But he's been to Toronto 1,000 times, and this is only once broke his leg, so it's illogical, right? So I have to be really gentle, and it's not even like an obsessive thought. It's just like a ping of a thought that happens, like, and then I have to go, okay, no, that's really not logical. You're okay. He's been in Toronto 1,000 times. It's not a big deal. Just because last time it was bad. Okay, go.
How long has he been away for now? This current
46 days, 48 days.
Yeah.
I don't know. I counted the other day. Yeah.
So it's illogical. Like, yeah, chances are he's not going to break his leg again, but that worry is still there. Like, you haven't seen him, and it instantly got changed a week ago. You were going to see him, everything was great, and now it's another week.
Yeah.
That for somebody that your intimate partner.
Well, yeah. So that's why I'm feeling irrational about it. As a woman. Sorry, go ahead.
It's one of those things that, like, children, you see this in children who are abused, and then all of a sudden someone walks in with a green tie and they start screaming, and you don't know what the hell is going on. They're just having a reaction to something. It makes sense. The last time you said it, your own words verbatim, the last time he went to Toronto, he broke his leg. That scared you because your partner is somewhere out in the world where you can't get to them. You don't have access to them.
You can't protect him.
You can't protect them, and they can't protect you.
I don't care about that. I can't protect him.
But I mean, and you're not there, so it makes sense that is right along the lines with the last time this happened, and your brain and your body are going to react the same way. I used a certain kind of shampoo because I had blonde hair before I went to Korea to see Kurt, live with Kurt. He was gone for basic training and then AIT. I only got to see him for like a weekend. His parents were there. We didn't get an alone time. And as I was using this shampoo, I would be really sad. And sometimes I'd cry in the shower. And when I got back from Korea, my mother-in-law opened this box and I found this shampoo. My hair was blonde again. So I was like, hell yeah, I don't have to buy more shampoo. I put the shampoo in my hair, and lo and behold, all of a sudden, I was a basket case. I started crying. I was like, I miss my husband. Why do I miss my husband? He's downstairs. What is going on? And I was like, and the first thing that came to mind was, man, I love this smell, but it makes me sad. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'm using the same shampoo, and the last time I used it, I was really, really sad. And so it just triggered my brain to be like, you're really sad right now, and you're not going to know why at all, so you're going to look crazy. Have fun. I got out of the shower, and I'm like crying, and my mother-in-law's, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm just emotional and being girly. She's like, I understand.
So I'm getting a lot of good information from this conversation, and I want to reel you guys back just a little bit to our theme.
We have to still talk about the challenge that is coming for this week.
Right. But one thing that kind of popped into my head was that movie Yes Man, where Jim Carrey's a yes man. He says yes to everything, And I think we don't want to say yes to everything. We want to prioritize, but we also want to not say no to everything either. And we want to broaden out our experiences and maybe say yes to some things that are uncomfortable or new or different for us. And then when Mike was talking about communication, the vocabulary that we use is so limited to express the ideas and the thoughts and the concepts that we have in our heads. And that brought me to thinking about Agnieszka, where she said that someone had kind of chastised her for using big words, and we use big words sometimes on our podcast because we're trying to get across complex ideas. So increasing our vocabulary and that could increase our ability to communicate with each other better and to express ourselves in a better way. And then reeling back the emotional triggers that we have, whether it be somatic or historical or whatever those are, and learning how to deal with those is another item that we need to deal with as well, that you all are talking about. So there's a lot of good information and points coming up. And that kind of led me to this idea of, okay, we're going to broaden ourselves, but we can also create depth in our skill set by repeating small chunks and by consistently and diligently practicing like they do on the video. And that brings confidence. And that's something that everyone can benefit from a little bit more of. So I think the challenge is, what do we want to do? What do we want to do next? That's the challenge.
I want to know the challenge for the week that we talked about yesterday. And I don't know who wants to participate with me, but I'm doing it even though I'm scared. Oh, by the way, sorry. Stop that for a second. Adam just said earlier while you guys were talking, he mentioned that smell has crazy memory triggers, even down to which nostril was dominant when you formed the memory. So
I've had
it's because it's really it's like connected to your brain. It's like closer than your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I've had whole chunks of my memory come back from smell. I've walked into a lady's house. I've spent years hanging out with her son. I knew everyone in the house, and I didn't know who this lady was until I walked into her living room and I smelled her house. And I turned her around and I looked and I said, "I know who you are now." It was like that quick. I was like, "Oh, I have these memories. I can access them now." Smell is one of the most closely tied senses with memory.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Okay, so the challenge. What is the one thing that you want to practice this week? Well, for me, it's going to be something that's been challenging me lately, but I'm challenging myself out loud, so I get challenged because I'm challenged in more ways than one. But what is the one thing that you would like to practice for this? Because this week is practice, right? So we got to practice something. I'm going to practice diligence. That's what I'm going to practice because I've decided that diligence is something that I want to do and embody and become more diligent. So in all the ways where I'm procrastinating or cutting corners, I want to, instead of procrastinating in the morning, I want to start work early. I want to get it done and maybe time for my hobbies in the afternoon. So really schedule my week or days this week.
Yeah, mine follows along the same lines. It's not necessarily just scheduling my week because I'm already trying to do that. My biggest problem is I don't make time. I don't schedule time to schedule time. So I'll get to the end of my schedule and then I'll be like, "Oh, I don't have anything else to do. Nothing's written in there." So I need
for the plan.
I need to set a date or a time of day where I can look through all my stuff.
Well, so hang on. If this is your challenge for the week, then what are your benchmarks?
I said I was thinking about it. I was just tossing this out here for some feedback.
What are your benchmarks?
I want to go with it.
How will you know you've succeeded?
I say go with it. Yeah.
Next week is accountability, so we may as well start now.
Wait a second. I retract my statement.
We're going too fast. Hang on.
This week is practice.
Really
this is like week 12 of the course.
Come on. No.
Okay, Michael, what's been challenging you? What do you want to challenge yourself on this week? Wednesday and Thursday, you'd have to report on it. It has to be something that's attainable this week.
Yeah, I think mine's going to be pretty simple. I'm just gonna, it's one of the things that I've always wanted to incorporate into my daily practices, and that is make more offers, to do the things that I want to do. And so this week I am going to be making a lot of offers. And I'm going to make an offer every day.
Ooh, that's a good challenge.
Yeah.
Nice.
One a day. That sounds good.
Do you have
At
any
least one a
particular?
day, probably 10 times a day if I can make it happen.
Well, if it only...
This is.
Sorry.
I don't know why I asked this, because when someone offers something and they're like, "I've got something on sale," I'm like, "What is it? What are you offering? Is it the same for every person?"
No, it's different. For him,
Well,
it's...
yeah, I've got a bunch of different things that I'm working on as far as projects, but certainly my typical emergence course, I'm going to start cranking that up for March, and I've got to get some people involved in that, and also the other projects I've got going on. Certainly coming off of Acapulco, we've got some things to do there too. So
Nice.
A lot of different things that I can throw out there.
Awesome.
So you're going to be practicing offers. I'm going to be practicing diligence. What about the other boys or girls? Sam's holding. What about the rest of you guys?
Well, I have a little project that has been like in the pipeline for a while, and that I think it's a good time now to to move it forward and to being held accountable to it as well. So
that's next week. This week is practice, so
yeah, it goes right into that. Was it yesterday the meeting we talked about that I was gonna do something for March, for the week of the 16th. So what I want to get done this week, basically what my project for this week is to get like a set plan and to get everything, to get a structure up, which will not only prepare for that week, but also lead into how would I say, a presentation, which is going to be like an online thing.
Webinar?
So, yeah, like a tiny webinar, which is like, like a beginning of something else, which will lead into something else, but that's
an introductory webinar.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is my goal. Basically, this week is gonna be dedicated to to set the structure and to lay it out and to make the connections I will have to do and to put things into place I'll have to do. And then that week in March, we'll go deeper into it and we'll kind of lead to that product, so to say. And then, of course, the goal is to have that, little webinar ready as not as the end result, but as another, how would you say, like marking point on the way to, something bigger.
Milestone.
Milestone. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice. Good one, Dennis. I like that.
What about you, Tim?
Well, my daughter challenged me to do intermittent fasting this weekend. So she said that I wasn't allowed to put cream in my coffee in the morning, which has been kind of difficult. But I did it today, so that's my challenge. And I'm not eating until at least noon and sometimes 1.
Couldn't you put stevia in your coffee to make it more palatable and without the calories?
I'm just drinking tea and yeah.
So when I do intermittent fasting, because I've done it before a couple times, I put butter in my coffee or coconut oil and blend it, and it's really, really good.
Well, my daughter said that was cheating and that I couldn't do that because it was calories. So you break your fast. Yeah. But I like that idea and I'm all over it. I would do that
what if after your challenge? What if after your challenge week you modify your intermittent fasting to suit your needs?
Well, I want to see how I do because I've had long periods in the past off of coffee, and I've had more success with that. But then I get re-addicted pretty quickly, so I'm gonna just try to do that for a while and see how it goes.
Who was having really good success with intermittent fasting? Was it your wife, Dennis?
Yeah, she has been doing it. I was on it too, but not for too long. But yeah, she definitely has, and there's she took it to like a different level too, and there's a lot of really interesting information, which is like a little more detailed, like how you will break it, because that has a huge impact as well, whether you do the 16/8 or the 24/1, or whichever one you prefer. But then there's a way how you can increase the impact of it by especially what you eat first in order to break that fast. And then you can tweak it also, like with workout. So if you're working out or if you're active, and you set the workout right after at the end of the fasting period, so to say, then if you would want to trigger more like of a fat burning state of your body, you can use it to do that. So it's really interesting, like you by like small adjustments.
So you're going to do a
big impact.
presentation on that soon?
Yes, please.
With
I
like
need one.
specific directions and times, and if you do this, then this, and if you do that, then that,
Oh, we need that.
and a handout.
Yeah.
I was curious, does she also use the keto diet with it, or just the intermittent fasting? Because I know that there's people who do both and just do each or.
No, she's not on keto. She just does the intermediate fasting, and she started like with shorter periods and increased that, and then actually, like, and that was a big step for her, actually, like to be able to go all 20 hours without eating and stuff. That's something, like a while ago she was not even, oh my god, that's not possible, and no, it's only you can do it, and this and that. Like, no, it's like, oh yeah, it's actually not a big thing. And then that's really interesting to see, because like knowing like from where she comes from, it really does have like a strong effect even on somebody who would not have had the discipline, so to say, or even the will to try out something like that. So that was really interesting. And then if you can tweak it even furthermore to get even better results, I think that's even more exciting, because then like it keeps you excited because you keep on seeing results, and it's something that triggers you also to get to know yourself better, to be on theme again, because it puts you in touch with your with your body, with your physicality. It's like, oh, how does your body react? And a few months later you felt like you were starving if you only did not eat anything for like 4 hours, and now you can go like a whole day without even having a problem. So it just shows the possibilities, and that there's much more than what you thought there could be. So you can push the limits.
Yeah. I like that.
That's
There's
what
a lot
Raising
more than
Excellence
what
is all
we-
about. Pushing the limits. Sorry,
Yes.
what?
No, it's all right. I was just saying, like, I don't know, nutrition books are always like, no, you have to eat 3 times a day, and that's generally scheduled around timings, and it's, well, no, like Dennis just said, you can work yourself up to going 24 hours without food, and not to be depleted by any means.
And a
Yeah, I
key
was gonna
point
say
really
that.
is the
Cool.
perspective, right? The ability of taking on a different perspective. That's what what I heard earlier when you were talking with all those different examples. It's like with a husband, or in relationships, or even with something like, I don't know, like washing the dishes. It's like, oh my, are you gonna look at it and say, oh my god, like I don't want to do it, I have to wash dishes every day and it's so bad? And or it's like, oh, washing dishes, oh, that's like, okay, washing, it's like cleaning, it's putting things in order. So if the outside reflects the inside, maybe like actually by washing the dishes physically, like I could like clean and put something in order on the inside as well, put my mind in order and clean up my emotions while I do it. And then it's like, oh, that's interesting, let me try this. So it's the ability of taking on a different perspective, a different look at things. When I was doing the whole tire recycling in Jamaica, recycling thousands of tires, it's like I was looking and walking past on the roads, and it was like, oh, this is disgusting, this is so ugly, these old tires and so on. And then after I learned how to make different objects from them that I could transform into like a business, basically. It's like, oh, that's this tire over there, I could make a nice bird with it, or I could make a nice flower spot with it, or I could put this on the road, I could put it up in the house and like raise the wall with it. And it's like, so it's like the tires didn't change, but like I was able to see the solution within the problem. And I think that's a skill, and that means you have to change the perspective. And in order to change the perspective, you have to take some kind of action. Like in capoeira, like when I'm with the other guy, like in the circle, and it's like the guy is all closed up and I can't find no way to attack because he's all closed up, so there's no opening there. What I'll have to do is I have to change my perspective by changing my angle, maybe by going upside down, and you all in a sudden, like by making a step to the side or doing a cartwheel or so, you see things upside down, and then all in a sudden you will see openings and you see possibilities of of entry, basically. But I have to make a move first, so I have to look at at everything from a different viewpoint, and then I can see new openings. And if not, then I will change it again until I see it from a perspective that will bring a solution.
So if my life doesn't make sense, I do a headstand and everything will be clear.
Exactly, easy like that.
Sounds
Always
good.
a option.
So who else wants to commit to a plan for the week?
I will.
Practice, I mean.
I suppose.
I have a plan.
You don't have to.
You go
Nobody's
first.
going to force you.
Deirdre, let's hear it, Deirdre.
You go first. No, she can send. Well, they can go first. That's fair.
No, I was just agreeing to my plan earlier.
No, that is not what it sounded like. Fine,
She's
fine. I'll go
recommitting.
first.
Recommitting.
I'm going to commit a book. I want to read a book, and I've been putting it off. And it's not a hard read; it's a lovely read. And so I want to make sure that that's finished this week.
Why do we put off things that are lovely?
I think
Because
it's
I
a
want, for
self-esteem.
me, for me, it's a time thing. If I want to get in and enjoy it, I want to enjoy it without it being interrupted every 5 minutes. I want to be able to read a chapter and kind of really bury myself, get into the book. And I can't do that if I'm reading 3 or 4 sentences and then I get interrupted. Then I got to go back to where I was, maybe reread the 3 or 4 sentences. By the time I've done that, another child will come in. So for me, it's
Maybe you need to
figuring
go
out
to
a time.
Starbucks.
That's kind of where I was going with the self-esteem. Not as in like it's a bad thing, but more of if you're not feeling up to it or worthy of it, or you don't, it doesn't seem, you can't see the benefit in it, you're not going to spend your time doing it. Even if you know rationally, hey, you know what? Taking an hour for myself, going to Starbucks and sitting down and reading a book would probably be really good for me. There's something in our brains, and I think it actually is more prevalent in women, where it says if you're sitting down and relaxing, you forgot something to do. You forgot something that you need to do, and we're not encouraged to really, no one is really encouraged to provide time for themselves. And I think that goes back to people don't feel worthy enough to seek out this help and seek out to take that next step because they're like, I don't need to be up there anyways.
Yeah, and it's like you also mentioned about support systems. You have to have the right support system. Well, for me, if I am to go out to Starbucks for an hour, that means I have to be there for an hour. That means I've got to organize babysitter. That means I have to drive there, 20-minute drive there and back. So I'm essentially out of the house for 2 hours. So I need to organize somebody to do that for me for 2 hours. That's a big task. So
is there like a cafe walking distance from your house?
How about a park?
Or a
There
park
Why
or a
is it gotta be
neighbor?
Starbucks?
Yeah, there are those things, but for me it's organizing to look after the kids, make sure that I don't have to answer my phone if there's a phone call. I at least get a phone call at least once a week from the school. The kids have forgotten something, or I've forgotten something. I'm supposed to be there because there's an report or something. So yeah, these are the things that have stopped me from preventing me from finishing this book, and I would really like to. That's why I cruise around the house usually with audiobooks, but this book I can't. I have to physically sit down and read it, which I enjoy.
So
I
I
get to enjoy it
wonder, if you were to start a fitness regime and have to go on a run, would it be easier to carve out time to do exercise than to read a book?
I don't know.
Or just
Well,
decide?
imagine
I'm not that physically
imagine
active.
this scenario. Imagine you have a treadmill in your office where you are right now, and how different is the situation of you telling your whoever's in the house, your kids, anyone else, I mean, like, I am taking an hour and I'm running on the treadmill because I want to be physically fit. I actually don't think treadmills are good, so I'm not condoning that. But how different is that situation? Or even like, I need to get this work done. I have to take time for myself to do this, and it requires alone time. How does that feel compared to you saying, hey kids, hey people, I'm gonna take an hour to myself, I'm gonna go sit down and relax and read?
Well, that's the kids don't understand that. They don't understand what that means. They understand what working means. So, that's me closing the door, locking the door. There is somebody else in the house to make sure that they're okay and they're not trying to burn the house down, so I can do that. But when it's alone time, let's say you guys mentioned to me, have a bath, have a nice relaxing bath, have that time to yourself. That doesn't happen. To my kids seeing bath, they're just like, it's bath time? Oh my gosh, where's the bubbles? Mom, are they you're running a bath, Mom? And so that it's and then I feel guilty. And I don't actually enjoy it because of the constant knocking and
that's where we're going. This is one of those situations that's kind of triggering because it kind of sounds like, and I hate to hog the conversation, it kind of sounds like there's a part of you that when they go to do self-care, all the other parts are like, no, you don't have time for this. This is not on the priority list. And that's why this is your practice, to make it a priority so that you can teach your kids what it means to want and need and benefit from alone time and how to properly set those boundaries.
And take up your own space. But the other thing I was going to say, how some mothers, like, they don't want their kids to eat all the chocolate bars, so they put the chocolate bars in like a bag of Brussels sprouts, like, or in the freezer, right? Like you used to have Brussels sprouts or whatever. Well, you could do that same thing with alone time.
Yeah.
Like putting the dog's medication in the cheese.
You still have to work. You're working on yourself.
Yeah,
so speaking of boundaries, we're running a little bit over time.
We don't really care about that. Do we? Oh, yeah, you care about that. Oh, because you have a meeting. Sorry.
Sam, do you have something?
You all can continue the conversation for certain.
Well, we just want to actually get on to our last elements and conclude this because everybody else also has a schedule to match as well, and we don't want to take anybody's time over and above what you've suggested. So I think we've actually discussed a little plan for each of us and the practice that we're going to take on for this week. Let's do a quick roundabout in regard to the journaling thing. And Tim, if you want to start off, and then if you've got to head out, we'll go from there. But how has your journaling been going on? I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so I haven't been updated. But how are you doing with your journaling?
I am doing a minimal job. I'm kind of keeping up my tracking sheet of my goals, and then I write a little bit of commentary on how I did for the week, and that's kind of my journaling right now. I was sick last week for a couple days, but I still managed to recover very quickly and then have a really good weekend, and I didn't get too far out of my routine. I kind of picked it right back up, so I was happy with that.
Good.
Who's next?
I have been thrown off completely. I missed like 3 or 4 days, and then I ended up leaving my jiu-jitsu pants at my boss's house because I changed, and now they're on vacation, so I can't attend jiu-jitsu all this week without my pants. So I'm not really sure how my journaling has improved this week, but it has definitely taught me some lessons.
Without Mike, it's not the same. Journaling is not the same. Podcast is not the same.
No, that's sure right.
Mm.
My
journaling went down.
I went down.
Yeah, glad to get that.
I
haven't journaled all week.
This practice.
But I have been keeping with my question of the day thing, even though sometimes I have to do 2 questions at once.
Deirdre, I wanted to ask you, if you haven't been journaling all week, have you noticed, for me, it's like a jumble of thoughts. So it's like this image above my head where it's just like a tangled mess of stuff. And then journaling it is like funneling it out. So it may be still a funnel of a mess, but it's at least somewhere out there. Do you notice that cloud of jumbled feelings kind of follows you if you don't journal?
Yeah. So what happened is I started getting overwhelmed because things started kind of ramping up for me in my life. At the same time as I've had severe life change has happened. And so I had to do a sheet. And so what I did is I had all of the list of things that I needed to do for the week, but they were in my diary. or on my calendar, and I couldn't visually see them. So what I did at the beginning on Sunday, I'm just like, oh, stop this. I'm sick of looking at several different diaries to go for it. So I just grabbed out an A4 piece of paper. I went, things to do for the week. And then I had them itemized. And under that is all of the things that I need to do. And so, and I put when I've done them, I put a tick beside the dot points, and then I scribble it out. It's done for the week. And that has been working for me. So I don't know if that's a type of journaling, but I needed to do that first before I can get back to my emotional download.
I've noticed that my journaling entries change. Like some days it's like a bullet journal where it's like, this is what I need to do today. Other days it's like, this is what I'm freaking out about. Other days it's like, this is what I dreamed about and I can't get over it.
For me, it has been definitely bringing clarity. Like it's a different thing than just, thinking or running some thoughts, than to actually sit down and put them on paper. So it seems to bring a different quality of I don't know, of interaction with myself in a way to it. And it's really interesting. So I'm not like I haven't reached like a level where I do it on a daily basis, but I do it and I don't even schedule for it, which is probably like a good thing for me to do. But I will pick up the book and I will start writing, and it's always like something really really positive, or really something revealing that comes out of it. And then what was it yesterday? I think it was effortlessness that just kind of came up, and I was like, oh, like so the line of thought is like it's a quality line of thought, so to say, which is constructive. So it's like, oh, well, what kind of things are came into my life or are coming into my life like without effort. And now that's really interesting. So it's like, oh, it's a kind of intriguing, like a kind of conversation with myself. And it and when I go through it like afterwards, it's like, oh yeah, then I remember something else, and something else comes up, and then it kind of adds up to it. So it's definitely it's a process that brings clarity to my mind, I guess, to my being in a way. So I really enjoy that.
What language do you write your diaries or your journals in?
Yeah, that's so weird because I write in English most of the time. Sometimes
me
like
too.
Wow. Oh wow.
So yeah, and I've noticed that lately it's really strange because I would expect like things like that, which is only for myself, like to write them in German. And sometimes there are words that I don't find like a good English one, and then there will be like a German word here and there in it, or like one or two phrases, but then most of it is actually in English. And yeah, so that's kind of strange even to me. Like looking, it's like, oh, well, I'm not writing in German, but it's like that. Like even like in training, like when I teach capoeira, so like there's like people actually come to me, like students, that, oh, you're not from Germany, right? So they're like, oh, where you from originally? You're from Brazil or something? And then, no, like I was born
down the street.
Just point down the street and you're like, no, man.
But you've been away. Like, people used to think that I had an accent before I married a Polish guy, because I didn't speak normal either. Or, you know what I mean? They used to think I was a foreigner. I fooled people that I was a foreigner in Poland. Anyway, Michael's looking around like he wants to go. I think we should wrap it up.
Well, I was just going to report on my particular thing because, of course, I had the intercultural experience here this past few weeks. And so I kept myself extremely busy, which really cut down on my journaling because most of the time I got the house and I just left my journal here because I didn't know, I generally I stay at the house most of the time. And so being outside, I end up like whatever I take, I end up leaving somewhere. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I left my computer over here, I left my tablet over there, and so I didn't want to take it out and leave it somewhere. And so consequently, the journaling didn't get as much attention as it should have, I think. And certainly in this kind of circumstance where a lot of things are going on, to some degree, these are things that are really important to me, and I should be writing some of this stuff down, some of these details down. But one thing that was interesting was, I would get to a point where like there's something that has to happen or some deadline that I have to do, and having the journal where I could like spend 5 minutes and write down, okay, what have I got in mind for this? What are some things that I need to like make a point of? And just doing that little bit of writing in regard to like making a little bit of a plan. What was it going to do in the future in regard to this thing that I'm stressing about? Boy, it made a huge difference. You know, it calmed me down. It gave me a plan. It made it really easy for me to kind of put it into some steps. And then then I went out and I did it. That's just another element that I think it can bring. When we kind of have these circumstances where maybe we're starting to stress out, or things are starting to bunch up. Just doing that little thing, and kind of what you mentioned, Willow, it is one in which you can focus your mind and get rid of a lot of the clutter and maybe a lot of the worry that can kind of screw things up otherwise if you don't do something to deal with those things.
It's less like getting rid of it and putting it in its place.
Yeah.
And putting it where it needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that said, thank you everybody for your time and attention. We really appreciate all that. And
we love our faithful listeners.
We are
Yes, we
on
do.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. So tune in on those days. Almost always on time. And does anybody have anything else before we go?
That almost always on time shows how long you've been away.
Let's motivate our listeners to join us on our challenge. What is your challenge going to be?
Oh, yeah. Tell us what your challenge is. That would be cool. You got like 3 days.
I would like to know.
Well, or next week will be accountability. We can do another challenge.
All right.
sounds good to me.
With that said, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Bye.